The Namibia Airports Company, NAC, has been on a quest to transform the local aviation sector. Now, to discuss the state of the Namibian aviation sector, I'm joined via Zoom by the Namibia Airports Company Chief Executive Officer, Bisey Uirab. A very good evening to you, Bisey. Thank you very much for joining us on Business Today.
Yes, good evening, and good evening to the viewers as well.
Bisey, take us through the state of the local aviation sector and its contributions to the Namibian economy. What exactly does that look like?
Well, thank you very much for having me this evening. As you know, Namibian transport sector has 4 modes of transport, and these are the road transport, the rail transport, maritime transport, where the ports are involved, and of course the aviation, the air transport. And Namibia Airports Company form part of that transport network. And in this instance, we manage the airports in our country, 8 airports that are owned by the Namibian government. Now, the Namibian aviation sector obviously has as key components the airports, and then you have the airlines, then you have the regulator, and of course, Government Transportation Commission that plays a very significant role in managing the sector. We have 8 airports, as I've indicated, and then we have got one national or one airline that is Namibian owned, that does international flights or mainly regional. And then you have got quite a number of general aviation players who have got many smaller aircrafts that are primarily used for tourism and for private use. The regulator, which is the Namibia Civil Aviation Authority, is the authority that regulates all the players within this sector. As you know, the aviation sector is a very sensitive sector. We place the security and safety of our users as a premium as we operate our sector, and we are known as one of the safest aviation players within the African continent. Therefore, we are doing very well. And as you will recall, recently we went through an ICAO audit where they have looked at our safety situation. And as a country, we scored over 72%, which is a very, very good score as compared to global and regional scores. I think we have outscored both the regional numbers and also international scores that are sort of given to the aviation. So we're doing very well, but there's much more that needs to be done.
Yeah, 100%. And during that audit, what were some of the parameters and the pertinent parameters that were considered for that audit?
Well, they look at the entire sector, starting at what are the laws saying, what laws are in place, and are these laws in compliance with international laws that are enacted by ICAO. ICAO is an international body that is part of the UN system that basically regulates aviation sector all over the world.
Right.
And there were 8 areas in which they were auditing us, as I said, starting from the regulations or the laws that regulate the aviation sector. They looked at the airlines or the aircraft owners. They looked at the airports. They looked at the safety record, both at the airports, with the airlines, and with all the players. So it looks at all the areas that are involved in the aviation sector, and obviously the training that is provided to those people who are involved in aviation, including our firefighters, how the pilots are licensed. So it really considers a very broad spectrum of areas that affect the aviation sector.
Okay.
And all of that gave us that 72.3%.
Right. Bisey, we are running out of time. We still have a lot to get through. But last week, we understand that Air Botswana announced its route to Namibia. How significant is this to the NAC, and how is it going to, if at all, change your operations?
It is very significant. As the aviation sector, we connect Namibia with the rest of the world, with the region, that is Botswana SADC region. And what we are doing together with other players is we have established what we call Air Connect Namibia. These are entities that have got direct or very close indirect interest in aviation sector, spearheaded by the Namibia Airports Company, We have NIBDB working with us, the tourism board, the NCCI, certain government entities. And what we are doing is really to attract airlines to come to Namibia to ensure that we are connected with the rest of the world. And the effort of bringing our regional airlines has given us some fruit through the announcement by Air Botswana. They will be coming in the next couple of months, and we expect other regional airlines also to come to Namibia. We are also engaging with some international airlines who will come to this country so that we can be connected with the rest of the world. The idea is to have as many connections as possible with our regional cities or regional hubs, so that when international airlines come here, it will be easier for people to transit and transship from here to the rest of the world.
Right.
So it is very important for us to see this Air Botswana coming. And they will come from 3 towns, Gaborone, Maun, and Kasane. So Namibia will be connected directly with 3 towns in Botswana on a weekly basis.
Bisey, what would you say are some of the challenges that you have faced, or rather the NAC has been facing, and how are you planning to address some of these challenges, both in the short and long term?
I think one of the major challenges we are facing is internal connectivity. By now, we know that we only have one airline that serves Namibia domestically. We would like to see more and more connections between various towns of Namibia. So that's a big challenge. The second challenge we have is the cost of flying. I think obviously many Namibians are complaining about the cost of flying, but obviously cost of flying is influenced by the number of people who use air transport. And we would want to encourage Namibians to fly more because it's safe, it's faster, and it's very cost effective. The other challenge we have is our airports are obviously quite old. Many of them were constructed many years ago. The ICAO has changed many rules with the advent of safety, emphasis on safety and security. There are certain areas that we cannot meet because of the old nature of our airports. Therefore, as we move on, we need to continue with the improvement of our airports and make sure that we meet international standards. But by now, yes, we are pretty much close to meeting those standards, but we need more capacity to make sure that Namibia plays in the top ranks of this sector.
Bisey, would you say that some of your mitigating efforts are guided by the ICAO audit?
Yes, definitely. I mean, they have identified certain areas that we need to pay attention to, and we are definitely making sure that we close those areas that have been identified. Issues around training of staff, some of the areas on the air side where the aeroplanes are. So they have identified specific areas, and we will make sure that we close those areas. But it does not pose any challenge.
Right.
The safety or the security of our passengers, our airports are very safe, and we encourage our passengers to fly more.
Right. Bisey, let me pivot a bit. When Air Namibia got liquidated a couple of years ago and some change, the NAC at the time said that the shutting down would greatly impact its operations. Now, it has been 3 years now, and you've been at the helm of the NAC. Is that impact over? And how did you implement your crisis management strategy on that announcement?
Well, the demise of Air Namibia has not been good for us as Namibians. As I said earlier on, Air Namibia used to connect us with most bigger towns, most airports. And obviously, with them gone, we are missing that part. As of now, we are almost just over 90% to prior COVID numbers in terms of people who are using our airports. And the vacuum that was left by Air Namibia is obviously felt very much. But we work very hard trying to bring in other airlines to close that gap. It is always nice to have a local airline, flag carrier. When we used to see Air Namibia at foreign airports, it was a pride for many Namibians. And as you all know, there is a discussion ongoing amongst Namibians to see if there would be a way of bringing back the national airline. And I'm sure that will be the focus of the incoming government. Air Namibia played a very important role, and we miss their absence. and we will look forward that we can bring them back at some point. Not necessarily as a Namibia, but as a national carrier for the country.
Bisey, the NAC and really reconciling domestic travel by Namibians and encouraging more Namibians to travel versus what it essentially looks like at developing our infrastructure for international travelers. You alluded to that a bit earlier on, and also looking at the government's intentions and, of course, the NAC's intentions to contribute to Vision 2030 by growing the aviation sector and making air travel a norm for all Namibians. How are these efforts progressing? And also, is it seen, is there a distinction between promoting international travel or international travelers through your infrastructure, or are you also at the same time trying to encourage domestic travel?
Yes, indeed. We are encouraging domestic travel. You know, these two things cannot be separated. International travel and domestic travel and regional travel cannot be separated. As I've indicated earlier on, it is much cheaper in terms of the time lost. It is faster and it is safe to travel by air. That is why we would like our Namibians to really make use of the opportunity to travel by air. And the more we travel by air, the cheaper the prices will be.
Right.
What we understand currently why the flights are so expensive is there are not many people traveling, and the airlines obviously have to make a bit of profit. They must cover their cost. Therefore, the more we travel, the more we can bring the cost down. We have seen lots of opportunities coming up in our country in the oil and gas sector, green hydrogen, and other sectors. Even the tourists are coming up. When we get tourists with international airlines, we would like them to also travel within the country. That is why we would really like to see more routes opening within our country so that more Namibians can travel and more of our visitors, like the tourists and business people, can travel. We know that into the south, to Lutherich, to Wolfish Bay and other parts of the country, we will see more and more business travel.
Yeah.
And we really look forward to a day when we will have regular and daily flights to this part of the country.
Because again, just to jump onto that, that much talked about oil and gas sector and a lot of the industrial activity that is coming up, that is in the pipeline, that are in the pipeline, particularly within the southern part of the country. Now, again, just to build a bit on that, there are certain requirements for active participation by the NAC. How are you playing your role to ensure that this highly lucrative sector, outside of the oil and gas sector and just the whole industrial potential of the South, is supported through your operations?
Yeah, we all know that many of us will play a very important role in the development of this sector. We are engaging with the key players, the oil majors. We are engaging with the towns of Lutherich and Wolfish Bay to quite understand what needs they would have from our side. We know that there will be lots of people going to the oil rigs with helicopters, so we must make sure that the facilities at our airports are ready for these people to move up and down from the oil rigs to the towns and then flying out internationally. We must make sure that our airports are able to attract and welcome bigger aeroplanes who will then be bringing all these business people who are coming to the oil fields, and of course other investors who want to come and see what Namibia has to offer. So there is a constant engagement between ourselves as the airport authority with the oil majors who are drilling, who have now discovered oil and who are about to make decisions in terms of the development of these wells. And then we are engaging with the town councils who are hosting us in their respective towns. So there is a multilateral engagement that is taking place between ourselves and the rest of the key players. We know that the government is playing a key role. The NIBDB is coming on the table as well, right, in terms of engaging and understanding the needs of these key players. And of course, as a country, we must make sure that we meet those needs because they are quite specific in what they need.
Yeah.
And we have to come to the party to make sure that they feel welcome and that our infrastructure is able to meet their demands and their needs.
Bisey, before we let you go, we just want to get a sense from you as the CEO of the NAC, what your long-term strategic plan is for the NAC, what that looks like, your efforts, your plans for the company, and of course, the services that you'll be providing.
NAC operates in a broader aviation sector. That is why our strategy, long-term strategy, is intertwined with that of the sector. Number one, we need to meet the needs of our communities, the business community, the tourism, family visits, government plans. And we all know that in Vision 2030 and through HPP2, we have identified certain airports that need urgent upgrade. And when I think of that, I'm thinking of airports like Osaka International Airport, which is our flagship airport. The buildings are quite old. We need to do some work in bringing about new terminals there. Kadima Mulilo is a very strategic airport for us. We see Kadima Mulilo linking 5 countries. The hype of tourism is great in that part of the country. So we are looking at what we can do to make sure that Kadima Mulilo meets that demand of taking care of our tourists that are coming, both Wolfish Bay and Lutheritz, with the boom of oil gas in our country. Definitely we need to do some work around that.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, we must also make sure that we train our people, that our customer service is up to the first world level, where our customers will not feel that they are in an African continent, but rather that they are at the airport that is keen to provide them the best service that they can get. So we are working with all the key stakeholders, with the government, including to make sure that our development is in tandem with the national outlook of the country and of everybody that support us.
Right. Mr. Uirab, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you very much for the update.
Thank you very much, and I wish you well.
Good night. Now, that was Namibia Airports Company Chief Executive Officer, Bisey Uirab, talking to us about the state of the Namibian aviation sector as the NAC is on a quest to transform the local aviation sector. Now, coming up next after the